All right, so we're making another roster changes video, and of course, as soon as I make the roster changes video, a kind of a bombshell day happens where a bunch of changes happen, and I don't cover them in the same day I covered the heroic and the I forget whether it was more like tier two stuff, but heroic were the most interesting ones by far. So now we're going to be covering. We're just going to get into it. Obviously, I think everybody knows about the Kyxsan move. Kyxsan was in talks for Aurora for quite a while, and overall, I like the move. I think Kyxsan, when you watched him in teams like Heroic and Apex, you saw his vision of the game and how he wanted to play. Saw was able to. I think something that gives me a lot of faith about this roster is that you have a strong coach in Ash, right? Now, Ash hasn't played with these level of players, these like top 20 potentially players. Um, he's never really played with anybody like that in his career, right? The only person I think he's played similar to that level is like Rez, but even then, Rez is more of like a journeyman who's just been very like underrated career, but not like the best. But he's playing with Jim Fat, Wicadia, Zontaras. These guys are top 20 riflers, or in conversation to be like a top 10 rifler within a year, especially Zantares recently. Wow, Wicadia has been insane though. And overall, I like the idea. I think pairing Kyxsan with a strong coach like Saw, Kyxsan for the most part almost always keeps up his end of the bargain when it comes to fragging and everything. Cash is back in the map pool, which has historically always been a Turkish map for people like Zontares. Wicadia will probably be good on it. Um, something that Haka mentioned, though, and I do think this is kind of a point that does need to be addressed, is the lurking question. Soulfly kind of fit the supportive role better than Jimfat does because Wakadia, or not Wakadia wants to lurk, right? He wants to be given space to lurk and play late rounds and to explore the map and take his timings. Where Soulfly was more willing to be like first into a bomb site and execing and these things. Maybe they swap the rules around. Maybe Kyxsan, because Kyxsan is also somebody who likes to lurk a bit, right? You arguably have too many players on this team that like to make their own solo plays. Um, so the rules are a bit iffy, and that's why I think I would have. I don't think the moves are bad. I think the moves are good on paper, and they do. I think it will work out. I think we will see a team that's like top six, top eight contention, right? That level of team, maybe in the top five if everything really works out. They might win some trophies, but I have a lot of faith for this roster. But I do think there is a problem with the lurking. The rules are not completely like great, right? I think they're fine on CT side. On CT side, I don't think there'll be a problem. I think on T side, though, you got some problems. But overall, I like the move. Very good. Liquid bench ultimate, and they signed Jorko from Focus. If you don't know who Jorko was, Jorko is somebody who I highlighted to keep an eye out on because I believe this kid is a mechanical prodigy. He's only 17 years old. He's, the next Bulgarian wonder kid. Right, the last one we've had was, I don't know, Cirque. Was Cirque the last Bulgarian offer that was like really good? Or last Bulgarian player that was just really good. Even though I like Rainwaker and people like Red Star and these things, I think Jorko is more talented than those players, and I think I have a lot of faith in this pickup. Right, I think the problem you're gonna have though, you don't really have a true leader on this squad. JT is a tactician. That's the assumed signing, right? It's heavily implied because he's playing with a Liege and Jorko on uh, in Face It, right? That's where people are getting. This was a rumor for a while. I just didn't cover it because I wasn't sure, right? I wasn't sure if we were just being faked out or something like this, or if the deal was actually going to go through. But no, it did. The problem I have with this is you don't really have anybody who's like necessarily a super vibes guy on this team. JT is not a super big vibes guy. Uh, Elige is not a super big vibes guy. Naf is not a super big vibes guy. Like they're just kind of people that do their job and they are, I wouldn't say tilters, but Jorko is young and he's known to tilt, which is a bit concerning. I think it's a good pickup on paper, and I think it does work with this team. I also think they need to make Liege more of the playmaker on this squad. If anybody has seen the episode that Thorin did with Luz Raposa about how Liquid actually play and the problems, Elige isn't even playing the playmaker role. He's playing actually like hard entry role where Mobs gets to play more of the late rounds. And that's kind of concerning because that's not why we wanted Mobs to go to Liquid, right? Everybody wanted Elige who've seen him in the past in his prime, right, to be the second guy in because he's amazing at being the second guy in to where he gets space to trade and he can play a bit of like the mid to late rounds, right? Kind of the Nico role, if you want to have it that way, when Nico was in G2 and these things. So I like it, but they have to like actually change Leech back to the role that he once was. And Jork, they need to not tilt as much. They actually do need to get value. But I have a lot of faith in this pickup. I think this is a great pickup. BCG complete roster with Mzinho. I didn't expect this one. I thought Mzinho was just going to stick with Mongols, but he wants to play with his best friend in Senzu. I think BCG have a very scary roster now with people like Simple and Senzu. Electronic has had moments. Magisk, I think, can be an IGL, and I think Simple and Electronic will listen to Magisk, as I've already said. And I think Mzinho is, for an anchor supportive prospect that will go first in hard entry, I think he's, a good pickup in that sense, right? I am still curious how the cultures clash because you have one guy from Denmark, two Mongolians, and basically two people from the CIS region. And the question is also language barrier. Mzinho and Sensu don't have the best English, right? Like, there's some questions, but I like the pickup. I think it's good. I think the role wise, they've nailed it, and I think they've nailed it in terms of the potential that these players have. Because Simple and Senzu, I still think are potential HLTV top 20 players. I still have faith in them, especially even Simple. I still think he can be a top 5 opper in the world if given the chance to. And I think this roster will finally prove like whether or not Simple has it. If Simple doesn't win with this roster, it's gonna really hurt his legacy, in my opinion, because even though he's done everything it is, like people are gonna call him a team killer and they're gonna be like, this is your goat and everything, and it's gonna be like actually insufferable to listen to that because people just didn't watch him during his prime. But I think if this roster can be a top 10 roster, I think they have potential for top 10. I don't know if it's actually gonna work out to be top 10, but I think they have potential to be top 10. Top 15, I think, is more likely. But I like the pickups. I think picking up Mzinho is a bit of a steal. Especially from the question now happens with, well, what's going to happen with Mongols, right? Like what actually does happen with Mongols, because who are they getting? Are they getting Controles? Are they picking up Tikawak, who's this Mongolian prospect? Like, there's some questions. NRG signed Halzark and bring back George. Bro was benched, so they're bringing back George, who was on Voka. George, I think, was okay, but he didn't really develop past what he was initially, which was that of an plays a lot of he's kind of a role player, but he kind of hard entries on sometimes. He's sometimes lurking. He's like a role player, and I think he was serviceable for NA, but I don't think he was anything outstanding. Halzark, I like. Halzark has had really high highs and really low lows. He is a opper when he's peaking is incredible in terms of the impact he has with the op. The fact that his rifle is sometimes okay. I don't think has the best rifle, but his rifle's okay. But sometimes when he's peaking, he does look genuinely incredible. I remember that one series when he was on Complexity against Aurora, and he just 1v9 the game. Like, he actually just carried Complexity to beat Aurora and make semifinals. I think it was PGL Bucharest 2025. Incredible highs he has. But he hasn't shown that in a while. He's been on a downtrend. Maybe this break away from competition since being removed from Passion UA will actually help him. But who knows? I think it's better than OC. So that's at least an upgrade. Maybe we can be a bit more excited about this roster. I don't know how much further they'll go because I think Bro was a better player than George, like fairly convincingly a better player than George, but maybe Halzark being a decent opper will help out. Nissim returns the Legacy starting roster, so they're not getting Thomas in, which is a bit sad. It's still theorized Try is going to go to Legacy, which I think is good. I think Try, is definitely an upgrade over Sadison. I like Nissim. I've been very positive on Nissim. I think he's a very talented Brazilian anchor player, right? He has a lot of talent, is the best way to say. He also has really low lows. I've seen him have awful series. He was like the lowest rated player in the stage 3 of the major. This clone major. He was the lowest rated player, even below Kerrigan, which is surprising because he sometimes does just have those awful series. But he also has series where he has so much impact. You see the talent and the skill on the player. And I like Nissim. I thought Nissim could go to other teams like MIBR over for Brennison, which by the way would have been a slam dunk move, and they should still do it. Brennison is awful, but they didn't do that. He's going back to Legacy. Thomason is still stuck in Bestia contract jail. 07 to him, but yeah, I like this roster. They'll still be a top 10 roster or a potential top 10 roster with this pickup. Cybershark signed Alcarin on loan. If you don't know, Alcarin was on Heroic for a while. He had visa issues for apparently Heroic messed with his visa or fucked up his visa, which caused him to not play in a bunch of the tournaments and why he was basically benched, right? And Youngster needs to step in. Now he's being loaned to Cybershock, and because he has visa issues, this is the problem I have with this. You benched your Opper, which was Fenomen, and I think Fenomen is a more talented Opper than Alcarin, right? When I watch Fenomen, I like what I see more. Now, I believe he's developed since he was on Cybershock, right, in a Nox division, but you're signing another Opper who has had visa issues. So either you're playing a bunch of CIS lands and you're not playing Schwenglin, I don't know how to pronounce it, that area of Europe events, or you're playing online. Like, I don't know. Maybe he sorted his visa issues. I don't know. I don't mind Elkarin though. I don't think he's a bad player. I just think he's like a bit inconsistent. He's very supportive, very passive. Similar to Fenomen, but I think Fenomen is more of a star in the making than Alcarin. Alcarin is pretty young. He's talented, but I don't have a lot of faith. And then Fnatic complete Mizé signing. I've mentioned the Mizé signing or the Mizé rumor for a while. I've been very aware of this signing. I don't know how the rules are going to work out because he's benching, coming in for Bratko. Bratko was of Laser Cats, and Bratko did basically got all the supportive roles. If they make Mizé or Mazai the supportive player, I'm going to hate it. Does Jacasmo go back to the supportive roles? Is Mazay the secondary star and Karen's the main star? I have a lot of questions with this squad. I still don't like Fear. I think Fear is a bit of a fraud. I don't think he's done anything else since the Passion UA days. Um, I like Jambo. Like, they have talented pieces, but the roles are kind of messed up. Fear has to take a step back in terms of the roles he takes. He has to take a lot more supportive roles, a lot more anchor spots, right, to allow for the players he has on the squad because he has some very talented Ukrainian players, and Mazay, Chakasmo, Karen. I like them a lot as riflers, and I have a lot of faith in them, but I don't know how it's going to work out. I just don't know. But that's all for roster rumors or roster changes. Sorry, official roster changes. There might be roster rumors I'm not aware of. I am leaving in tomorrow to go to a cottage with my family, so I will not be here to demo review or anything. On top of that, I can't even demo review because the client's kind of bugs, right, or that broke the demo viewer, and there's no recent matches that I can really demo review. Paravision is versing Big right now. I just finished the cache. I will probably make a video covering XC Pro League at some points. Um, but yeah, that's it for me. I'll probably see you next week. I don't know if I'll make a video tomorrow. We'll see.